Hi, I'm George from NBI Hockey,
And I'm Brody from BroalieTalksHockey.
and welcome back to Odd Man Rush. It's been a couple months. I we all forgot the password to the Instagram account, so that's where we're at. No, things
Yeah,
have just been super busy for both of us, and it's been really hard to get together. And now we're kind of more free and looking to get back into doing the podcast. So hopefully, you guys are still as excited for it as you were when we did all the previews and then never spoke of it again.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, we do have some stuff lined up though, for the next little bit. So I'm not gonna spoil anything, but we do have actual plans for episodes and stuff. So that's cool.
yeah.
This isn't gonna be like a one-off, hopefully.
No, definitely won't. We remembered that we wrote down the password this time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's password 123 exclamation mark. So we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
uh,
a lot's happened this season. This season's been really fun. Obviously all our predictions were right at the beginning of the season. That's why we just didn't do an episode because like we already told you what was gonna happen. So like
yeah.
St. Louis wasn't making the playoffs. I told you guys. But uh, no, the one thing that we kind of wanted to touch on, the big thing, was quickly the trade deadline, and now we've had like 18 to 20 games to kind of see some of the big names on their playoff teams. So we're gonna kind of go through a couple of those guys and give our thoughts on how we think they fit with their new teams. So I don't know if you just kind of want to go down like the league standings
Yeah.
and talk about them.
Let's
I feel like that's
yeah, let's do that. I can start. I'll start with Boston because
uh,
don't even have to look up the league standings. You know they're in first, but
yeah.
um Boston by far had the best trade deadline, I think, on a quantity and quality perspective. Like they didn't just trade for trading like another Atlantic Division team did, but they actually made moves that they needed. Like they have three number one defensemen pretty much right now, which is insane. They got another top six forward for pretty cheap. I don't remember the exact return, but I think it was pretty
I think it was
cheap.
like a second in something,
Yeah,
or
like
was yeah, because they didn't have a
that's
first to give Detroit. So
right. Like that's pretty good value, I'd say. And they got Hathaway, who's a fine bottom six forward, like pretty good actually.
I like Garnet
So
Hathaway,
yeah, I think that was a
especially on
huge
like a
win for
fourth line. I feel
Boston.
like yeah. I think the Bruins did great. I'm trying to see what the pick was from Boston. Oh, it was a first. It was first in 2024 and a fourth, which yeah, that's still nothing.
Okay,
But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, like the thing, like I saw a thing a couple weeks ago talking about like the Bruins resting players, like going into the last like couple weeks of the season because like they don't have anything to play for now at all.
right,
Like they've already locked up home ice for the entire playoffs, so like there's literally nothing. Like the only thing they have to play for is a regular season record, which if you asked any player, they don't care about.
right,
Um, and like the whole debate was about whether they would actually clinch that spot. And like if you think about it, like if they sit Allmark, they have a top 10 goalie that they can play behind
right,
him
yeah,
in Jeremy Swayman. If
right,
they decide to sit like Pasternak or Bergeron or like Marchand or whatever, they could just throw Tyler Bertuzzi into the first line, and they still have a pretty good first line. Like they could sit Charlie McAvoy, and they have like 8 defensemen who could play in the top six. Like they just play Orlov and Lindholm on the top line, and they're
right,
fine. Like
yeah,
this team is so deep that like it's really hard for me to say because like everybody talks about like the fake President's Trophy curse that doesn't actually exist, but everybody likes to say it does.
yeah,
um I'm pretty sure President's Trophy teams have won like 23% of the cup since that got put in, so like having like a 1 in 4 chance of winning the Stanley Cup in a league that's pretty random is significant, but whatever, it's a whole nother thing. um but like this team might be like one of the most complete teams that we've ever seen. And going into the playoffs, I think the biggest thing for me with Boston, right, besides like the moves, is just the fact that like if Allmark struggles, like they could just go to Swayman. Like they have by far the best backup goalie in the league
yeah. I
right
would
behind
have
him.
to agree.
And like the fact that you have that kind of security behind your, like we saw what happened to like um the like I guess the 2015 Canadians seem like the best example of like a team that went down after the best goalie in the world got injured. And like Boston doesn't have that risk. Like that's always the biggest thing going into the playoffs, right? Is like people talk about it all the time. It's like if the
Yeah.
Rangers lose Shesterkin, like they're done, or like whatever. If the Jets lose Hellebuck, they're done. Like it's just that's always the thing. And Boston does not have that fear at all. And
No.
beyond like all the
Yeah,
moves they made
exactly.
this season, which I love them all. Um, yeah, Boston looks like a powerhouse, and that means they're going to lose in the first round to the Islanders. But because it's
Yeah.
hockey.
Every game will be 2-1.
Yeah, you're gonna get the
Little event hockey.
Sorokin's gonna have like a
Like I
976, and
actually
it's gonna be insane.
like that's not even out of like I know nothing's
No,
impossible,
it's yeah,
but like
it's
you could tell me that and I'd be like, well, it's the Islanders. Like I'm not really like I'm
yeah,
shocked a little bit, but at the same time it's like, well, they have a top 5 goalie in the NHL and they
yeah.
constantly play elite defensive hockey.
I'd much rather like if I'm the Bruins, I'd much rather see Florida or Pittsburgh in the first round.
Yeah,
Even though both teams are probably better, like overall. Like
than the
I don't
Islanders.
want to play.
I'd
Yeah,
agree.
I don't want to play the Islanders.
Especially Florida. Actually,
Um,
Florida I think's given them some problems this year.
yeah, but like Bobrovsky in the playoffs, like I'm not
That's true. Especially
scared.
maybe if it's Alex Lyon though. He's going to have 4 goals saved like
Yeah,
expected every game.
it's crazy. It was wild. Uh, all right. Don't the Islanders really didn't? I mean, the Hurricanes didn't do much. They got Pugliarvi, but like that was about it,
Right.
right? They didn't do anything. I don't think they did anything.
No,
No.
but that was pretty good though.
Um,
Like he's playing on the second line right now, and they gave
I
away.
like him.
They got him
He,
for
yeah,
pretty
I love.
much nothing. Like some unsigned
Yeah,
prospect, I think was.
no, I love Jeff Pugliarvi. He rocks.
Yeah,
But like the Islanders or the
he's
Islanders,
great.
the Hurricanes definitely needed another forward who can't score. That's that is exactly what they. A guy who generates a ton of shots and just cannot score is the entire Carolina Hurricanes team. But boy,
Yeah,
if somebody figures out how to put the puck in the back of the net, that team's gonna score 8 goals a game. It's gonna be beautiful.
yeah,
But no, but I mean, yeah, just whoever fits them perfectly, and like I'm a big fan of his, so that's cool.
yeah.
New Jersey. Did the Devils do anything significant at the deadline? I can't remember. They picked up like maybe the biggest trade piece on the market in years. I don't think that happened, right?
Yeah,
Uh, Thomas Hurdle.
right.
How have you found his performance so far in New Jersey?
Um, I I saw a stat like his underlying numbers are better than they were in San Jose, but his production isn't as good. But like
Yeah,
I think he's playing on the third line right now. Timo Meyer. Like imagine having such a good team that you're putting one of your best players on the third line. Like I've seen that
they haven't even
before
signed him yet either. What's he
firsthand.
doing?
uh,
Yeah, I mean that
both
was
European players too.
yeah, yeah. He is. He's playing with Howell and Boquist right now.
Right,
Which is
but
ironically the same kind of level of talent he was playing with on the first line of San Jose. So,
yeah,
not much of an
exactly.
excuse. But
No,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
I
the
don't know.
Devils are like
They
ridiculously stacked.
right. I think if Carolina, you said it, they can't really. They have a lot of players that generate shots but can't score. So I think I'm actually very high on New Jersey, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like I don't think they'd beat Boston in a 7-game series, but I think they can beat Carolina for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. I think the only thing about this team that worries me is Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood. Um,
Yeah,
Vanacek's been fine this season, so like
I think so.
who knows? Like he was like a month ago. I don't know. Like I'm sure he
Right.
didn't die over that time, but I mean, like
He's
and Jack Hughes has
17th.
slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Like Jack Hughes has slowed down a little bit, which is a little concerning. Um, but I mean, yeah, the Devils are still like the one thing that kind of brings me pause is like the absolute lack of experience on this team. Which again, like I don't think you have to trade for like Corey Perry at the deadline to try to win a cup because like the one player isn't gonna suddenly bring you a bunch of experience. But the reality is, like in a game 7, when you're playing against like the Patrick Kanes and Anthony Panarins of the world and Tarasenko who has a Stanley Cup, and like there's
Yeah.
just a lot of like stuff that could go into that. Um, eh,
It's
that
purely a
kind of
mental thing.
concerns me.
Yeah.
Of 100%, yeah. Um, so that does concern me a little bit, but overall, like I think on paper at least, like we're probably getting a Devils Rangers series, right? Like we can kind of that's most likely the first round matchup at
I
this
think
point,
so.
unless Carolina
Yeah.
like falls off a cliff. Yeah, it's
Right.
3 points. 3 points. The
with a game
Hurricanes
in
have a game in
hand.
hand, so yeah,
Yeah.
like it's probably gonna be New Jersey, New York, which could be really. That's probably gonna be the best series in the first round, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try and
Um,
watch every one of those games. That'll be a
yeah,
sick
it's gonna be so
series.
much fun. Yeah, I think anyway. Back like the one thing about the Thomas Hurdle move is they still haven't re-signed him. But I think they probably will. And even if they have to QO him, I think they have like the cap space, so
Right. He said he'd sign
that's fine.
8x8 with a contender. So I'm not really. I think it'll probably be
Yeah, the
more like
Devils are
eight
gonna
by
be.
nine, but
Yeah, I mean,
it
New
should be.
Jersey's gonna be like stupidly good for the next like 10 years, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
fine.
true.
Like the only thing is the goaltending, but you can find a goal anywhere. I was a little
Right.
disappointed they didn't do anything to address that, because there was like cheap options available. But regardless, I
Right.
think like it was a great. They traded nothing away for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe they go for like Thatcher Demko in the offseason or something like that.
Yeah, I think
I
that would
could
be a
see
really
that.
good idea. I think Gibson's an interesting option there too. The age kind of concerns me, but
Yeah, that's true.
I think kind of the him being on a team that's going to be good is interesting.
I think what'll end up happening, and this is my prediction, like you can lock it
Mhm.
in right now. They'll trade for or sign a goalie that's not it's not the best numbers, but he's old enough and has some experience. That's what they're gonna do. Like they're
So
not gonna
Varlamov
sign
is what
like
you're
I don't
looking
even
at,
know.
or is he too old? I don't even know if he
Yeah,
falls into that
that's
category,
what
but
they're
he's a
gonna
free
do.
agent.
I don't know who the UFA goalies are, but
I'm pretty sure Varlamov's a free agent this year. That's the only one I
yeah,
know
I
of.
think they'll go for him.
And Quick, I think Quick's a free agent too.
I don't think they'll sign quick, but maybe they go for like
No,
yeah, I don't really know.
you know who'd be really interesting for New
I could
Jersey?
see an anti-Ranta type of move.
Robin Lehner,
Who?
New Jersey.
Can you say
Robin
that again?
Lehner. Robin
Vimelka?
Lehner. Robin
Robin
Lehner.
Leonard. No, I don't think he can play in the NHL again.
Why not? What? Like the goal, like the Vegas
I don't
goalie.
think Robin Lehner can play in the NHL again.
Why
Yeah,
not?
he's bankrupt.
What?
Didn't he buy a bunch of fish farms and he's bankrupt now? That's what I thought I saw.
What?
No, I'm not even joking. Like it's the plot of a dumb comedy movie, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
This is getting unhinged. Is this real?
This is real. I just saw an athletic report today about
Accused of
his
fraud. Yeah, holy
he's
shit.
accused of
Okay.
fraud in his bankruptcy case
What? When did
on
this
the
come out?
Athletic.
This came out April 5th. Okay, I don't feel that bad
$50
for not
million
knowing this.
in
This
debt.
came out today. What? This came out this morning, so I don't feel as bad not knowing this
Yeah.
story. This
Yeah,
is
don't feel bad
crazy.
for that. I
Wow.
just know that because I saw
I
that.
thought
I
you were
got a
like
notification today. Oh no,
I thought you were like
he
touching
bought
me
a
like you didn't know who
reptile
this was.
farm. He bought reptile farm with rare snakes. $1.2 million for a reptile farm.
What's this guy doing, man?
I don't know. A
Okay,
reptile
well,
farm. That's
I,
that's a
there goes
hilarious
my
thing that you could get bankrupt
there
by.
goes, there goes my dream of Robin Lehner being a goalie for the New Jersey Devils.
He would be a great goalie for the
Uh,
Devils, but
yeah, it'd be great. It'd be a good fit.
if he
Okay,
wasn't bankrupt.
all right. Okay. Well,
Maybe
that
he
was
pulls an
that went
Evander
off the
Kane and
rails.
comes and
Anyway,
plays again.
yeah, me. Hey, why not? Okay. Speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights, uh, see, it was all a segue, guys.
Yeah.
That's how we do it here.
Yeah.
Did Vegas do any like they got Barbashev? Did something else though, didn't they?
They traded
I can't.
for
It was an
no, they just got
NBC thing, I
Barbashev.
think.
Maybe they got
I thought they got somebody else.
some below replacement bottom
Yeah, I
sixer.
thought they got some other guy.
Oh, they got Dorofeyev, I
Uh,
think.
no, somebody. They
Someone
got
more
somebody
major?
else.
Who are
Yeah,
we forgetting?
Bluger. That's who it was. It's Teddy Bluger.
And Jonathan Quick.
Oh yeah, and Quick too.
And they got
Um,
Jonathan Quick.
yeah, I like Teddy
I
Bluger.
actually like Teddy
Um,
Bluger. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a big fan of that ad. I think we talked about that when we did the Penguins. Like, I love Teddy Bluger.
Hmm.
Um, I want the best for Jonathan Quick. He kind of sucks now, but like, I really want a King. Like, as much as I want McDavid to win the Cup this year, I really want a Kings Golden Knights series at some point. So Edmonton
Yeah.
just win the Pacific, and then I'll be happy because we need Vegas, LA in the playoffs. Like that has to happen.
I
Um,
agree.
so Edmonton just has to like win out and win the division, which isn't out of the realm of possibility because they're 3 points back,
Right.
tied
And
in.
they're playing the Ducks as we
So
speak. So
yeah, so they're
it's a
probably gonna win that
must-win
game.
game. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So please, Edmonton, like win the Pacific. Also, my prediction would be right because I do win in the Pacific. So like that'd be cool.
Right.
Uh, but like I want Quick versus LA in the first round.
Yeah, that would be
That
the
that's
storylines would
my
be amazing.
that'd be crazy. It'd be nuts.
Plus, maybe the Jets can
Um,
sweep the Oilers round one. Who knows?
yeah, there you go. Little revenge from the '80s. Uh,
There we go.
yeah. The New York Rangers. Another team that didn't do anything significant at the deadline, and we don't need to talk
Nothing.
about because I'm going to be getting attacked
Yeah,
if I say anything mean about the New York Rangers. So
right. One
I
one
just want
thing
to
I do
say,
want to say.
huh.
Okay, you go first. You go first.
I'm just going to say they have really nice jerseys, and they need to bring back Bubba O'Reilly, and that's it.
Okay. My one comment,
That's
I
all I
was
got.
watching
Mhm.
the Rangers broadcast and they were talking about how under how this was a great move to trade for Tyler Mott because they didn't know how good he would be. But he was literally just on their team last season and they traded him at the deadline or he got
He
signed or
was
whatever.
good last season though. To be fair,
He is
he
good, but
sucked in
I'm
Ottawa
just
this year.
saying,
He was
yeah, he
awful
did.
in Ottawa. But like I actually kind of like that move. I didn't
Yeah.
care. I also did like the Tarasenko trade. I'm on record liking that. Uh, but
Yeah.
the other move that they made, I was less excited about.
Right. They essentially traded
The other guy.
Buchnevich for Tarasenko. Buchnevich plus because they just traded
Yeah.
what's his name now?
Which I
Blay
mean, like,
back.
yeah, which like that's fine.
It's fine, but like in the grand scheme of
That's
things,
okay.
you could have kept Booch and you wouldn't have
Booch,
needed
yeah, for sure,
Tarasenko.
yeah, but like, yeah, whatever. Um, no, but seriously, the 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 Kane move is like obviously he's not the player that he was. He's gonna get a bunch of points. He's not gonna be very good defensively. He's probably gonna make a mistake that costs you a game. He's probably gonna score a goal that wins you a game.
Yeah. He's a
That's
high
how
event
it's gonna
hockey
go.
player.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. The one that like, especially watching his first game in New York though, and I put a tweet out about this when it happened, but like, it just feels right that he's on the Rangers.
Yeah. He
Like
looks good in
seeing
blue.
Patrick Kane at MSG under the lights, like the biggest venue in North America, being on that stage, Broadway, like it feels right
Yeah.
for Patrick Kane to be there. Like all the hockey stuff aside, the optics are fantastic, and like shout out to that.
Hmm.
That's all I say about it. The optics are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto.
Patrick Kane. One more
Okay,
thing. Patrick Kane currently has a Fenwick, or this is probably not a good one, a Corsi against per 60 of 57.3. So almost every minute he's out
sounds
there,
about right.
there's a shot attempt against.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It's
That's
Patrick Kane.
the, the, those are probably isolated. Those are probably like sheltered minutes too.
Yeah.
I'd assume he's not starting like 20% of his time in the defensive zone because if he is, like, I
No.
mean, to be is that just with the Rangers though, or is that like all season?
That's just with the Rangers.
Oh,
That's
okay,
only
perfect.
226 minutes, so it's a pretty small sample. Like it's
Yeah,
not huge.
sick. That's great. Yeah, okay. Well, that's great. He looks really good in a Rangers jersey, guys. That's that's all I'm gonna say. Toronto. Toronto went from a team where I really, really liked their deadline to a team where I really, really didn't like their deadline in the span of
Yeah,
about 15 minutes.
right. Exactly.
That's what happened. And
Hmm.
I think there was a lot of overreaction about the Leafs, and I don't think the Engvall and Sandin trades killed like their chances to win because I think the team's still better now than it was 2 months ago. Um, if Ryan O'Reilly is like good to go, and all
Yeah.
that with that caveat, obviously. Um, but like they were just so unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree.
Like every
100%.
they were every one of those moves was so unnecessary. Like I understand the theory behind the Sandin trade because like he's not going to get the ice time in Toronto. So like get something for your asset before like his value is just gone forever. I understand that. I'm very much a proponent of that. Like Eric Gustafsson can fill that spot to about like 70% of what Sandin would bring in that role.
Yeah.
Obviously Sandin's a better player, but based on like the third pair like offensive defenseman slot, like Eric Gustafsson at first is more valuable to the Leafs than Sandin wasting Ray there. Like I totally can justify that. I think it's a move you make in the offseason
Mm-hmm.
because of that upside going into the playoffs. And there's absolutely no excuse for flipping Pierre Engvall for Luke Shen. That just should
Yeah,
not have happened.
that's you're not playing two forwards 3D. Like you don't need that many
Yeah,
defensemen.
it
But
should. Yeah,
here's
first of all, 10 NHL level defensemen. Like that's the first thing. But yeah, anyway, keep going.
here's what's gonna happen. Come playoff time,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna sit Liljegren just because. And
Mm-hmm.
in the name of
Well,
big beefy
he lacks
defensemen,
experience. Yeah, he doesn't have any
yeah,
experience.
Luke Shen and Justin Hall are gonna play together.
Mm-hmm.
Giordano's gonna have 20 minutes. Riley's not gonna play much. Like they only needed if they just stopped after the O'Reilly trade, I would have said they had a great deadline.
I'm fine with the McCabe trade too. You can throw that one in. I really like Jake McCabe.
The McCabe trade? Yeah, I
Yep,
agree.
I'm good with that.
I like the
I'm good
McCabe
with that
trade.
too.
I don't like Sam Lafferty though. Like
He's
Sam Lafferty,
fine.
he's
He's
a first
okay.
line AHLer or fourth line NHLer.
Yeah, it's depth. It's fine.
Right. But
I
for
like
a
Noel
second
Acciari
round
too.
pick, that's not great.
Yeah, but you get McCabe like retained for another year. That's
That's
what the pick
true.
was for. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. Like Jake McCabe rocks. Like I'm totally okay with that deal. And Sam Lafferty gives him depth, and he's like barely playing right now, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean like Pierre Engvall has more points alone than every single player the Leafs brought in at the deadline, including Ryan O'Reilly. To be fair, he did get hurt a couple weeks into him being there, but including him and McCabe and Lafferty and everybody else, he has more points than all of them combined.
Hmm.
And he's the best. Like he's the best bottom six forward the Leafs had, which isn't nothing. Like I'm not saying that like Peering, and I've gotten Leafs fans mad at me because I criticized the move, but the the playoffs especially are such a thin margin of error. Like they're so like every little decision matters so much because there's such a small window of opportunity because of how random the playoffs are. Like you have to make sure you're putting yourself in a situation to have the best percentage going into every game to win. And Pierre Engvall was really good at that, even in the playoffs when he wasn't putting up points. And it's really strange that Leafs fans were so critical of like a bottom sixer for not scoring.
Yeah.
Like that just I don't get like that does. And it's not even like he was like an Alex Kerfoot role where like he was playing in the top six. Like he was a third liner playing defensive minutes for the like. It's just I don't get it. Anyway, like you need to get every move right. And losing a trade like that, although it is somewhat minor, could make a difference. Like that could be a difference between somebody missing a defensive assignment in a game 7. Like it's a big deal. I still have the Leafs winning that series. We're gonna do a playoff for you eventually, but I just posted that today. Or yeah, it was today. Um, but like it's not nothing. And the fact that he's having so much immediate success with a team that's probably gonna make the playoffs is really funny.
Yeah. That is funny.
Uh, it's just yeah, the margins there are not good. You didn't need Luke Shen. He doesn't bring anything to your team that you really needed. Like everything that Luke Shen can do, Justin Hall is better at. And Justin Hall's not very good, but he's better at it. Um, it's yeah, and I mean like Timothy Liljegren's not going to play. McCabe's going to play less. It, yeah, it's real. I mean, I'd rather have Eric Gustafsson out there than I really like Eric Gustafsson. Like I'd rather him out
Yeah.
there than most of those guys. Like it's just the Leafs literally could have, even with the Sandin trade, the Leafs could have built a very similar defense to what like the Avalanche had last year if they just don't make that trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's yeah, like I hope Ryan O'Reilly's back, but if he's not, then that series can go a lot differently.
I agree.
That's my Leafs rant for today. Is there anything else you want to talk about with Toronto?
No, there is not. The next
Okay.
team that we're going to talk about, though, only
Mhm.
made one trade of note,
Yep.
and they did a great job.
Yep.
Absolutely
Shout
great
out to Ken
job.
Holland. Yeah.
A+, no
Uh,
notes. Like,
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Did you
I've
see?
been super critical of Ken Holland over the last year
Yeah.
and a half. I've been very much in the he's an overrated GM. He's falling into Lou Lamoriello territory. Um, I still don't love him as a GM. But yeah, Matthias Ekholm for Tyson Berry, and I think it was like a couple picks.
I think
Is
it was a first
like
and a prospect.
yeah, like Matthias Ekholm rocks, and
Yeah,
he's
he's sick.
probably their best defenseman. I think
Definitely.
from a fan perspective, I would have rather had Erik Karlsson, something we talked about before we started recording, but that power play would have been disgusting. Um, but yeah, Matthias Ekholm fills exactly what needed. Like he's a two-way defenseman. He's their most defensively responsible defenseman immediately, and he's really good. So like, it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you see
yeah.
the leaked phone call or like they posted the phone call of Ken
With
Holland
Barry,
talking to
yeah,
Tyson Berry?
yeah,
Oh, I laughed
so
so
good.
hard at that. We traded you to Nashville, but
Yeah,
we
he's
got
trying to like sell him
Ekholm.
on the trade.
Yeah. Barry's just all bummed out. He's like, well, now I gotta go to Nashville.
He's like, yeah, we traded you, but we got this guy. We're gonna be so much better now without you.
we're gonna be
So
we're gonna be a million times better now without you.
we're gonna go
Like,
on a
that's just a
selling.
huge slap in the
Aren't you,
face.
aren't you happy for us?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, all right. LA. We kind of touched on the Jonathan Quick stuff. Didn't love how they did it. I understand why they did it, but it was very much a Marc-Andre Fleury to Chicago trade. Um, the way they handled the Jonathan Quick thing, not a big fan of that. But I understand why they did it. Corpsell is a better goalie. They're trying to win a Stanley Cup. Totally justifiable from a business perspective, from a personal perspective. Like the probably the best goalie in franchise history. You just like slapped in the face and did probably irreversible damage to that relationship, and that's not great.
Yeah.
So Edmonton win the Pacific because I want to have a lot of fun in the first round of the playoffs. uh, but I mean, Gavrikov's been pretty good since the trade. Korpisalo's been great. He's almost matched his goals saved above expected in 8 games that he had all season in Columbus. Mind you, again, that's small sample size, so one good game. Well, you got 4 goals saved above expected game, just like doubles that. But he's been good. He's been what they wanted. I don't know if it's enough to get by Edmonton in the first round or Vegas, but it's probably gonna be Edmonton. But yeah, I mean, Gavrikov has been better than he was in Columbus. So far,
I disagree with you. I think LA's beating Edmonton. No problem. In 6.
really,
I have
I
currently a bet going with
mhm.
with somebody. I bet around a golf that the Oilers will not beat the Kings in a playoff series. My problem is I don't trust. We talked about this before, like experience in playoffs. It's a whole mental
Mhm.
thing. I don't
Yeah,
trust Stuart Skinner's. I don't want to say mental capacity because that sounds bad, but like I think you know what I mean.
yeah,
I don't trust that in a series versus the Kings where they have 2 elite shutdown centers. Plus they
okay,
took them to 7 last year, and now they're much
sure,
better defensively, and they got Kevin Fiala. Like they got a proven finisher. They have healthy
true,
Arvidsson. I think they're going to do a lot better than last year. Then again, the Oilers are better than last year, but I don't know.
yeah.
I think if they don't
I
get too many penalties, that'll be the big thing. If they get a lot of penalties, they're screwed. Because you got a team
oh yeah,
scoring at a 33%
like
click right now. Like
30,
1
yeah,
in 3 is going in.
yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. Like you're not going to stop
And
that.
that number probably is going to go up in the playoffs. Like I wouldn't be surprised,
Yeah, I agree.
just because it's the playoffs. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's gonna be a close series. I just don't know if the Kings have like enough offense to keep up with Connor McDavid. Because even if McDavid like goes down, right? Like you're guaranteed at least a goal. Like you're going into every game down 1-0, at least, right? I think that's kind of like, and Skinner's been pretty good in the regular season. I think his extreme lack of experience is actually kind of a benefit because he doesn't like fully like you might not fully appreciate the moment as much. A lot of rookies kind of talk about that. It's also why you see a bunch of like unsung guys like ripping up in the playoffs because they just don't like the nerves aren't there as much.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Especially with goalies, right? You see guys like Bennington and Murray and stuff going on crazy runs. Just because like and Holtby too when he won in Washington. So that like I think if the Oilers have to go to Jack Campbell at any point in the series, they're done. Uh,
Yeah.
which
100%.
is sad to say for a goalie they just signed a 5-year
Five
deal,
by
but
five.
hey, yeah, they don't sign goalies long term, guys. There you go.
Unless they're a top five goal in
Um,
the NHL, do not sign him long term.
yeah, but like even like Corpusalo doesn't have a ton of experience. Like obviously he has the Leafs 2020 like
But
5 games, but
he
yeah,
does have the record for most minutes played in a playoff game. So that is a lot
that's
of
true.
experience. That's like 2 playoff games right there.
That's yeah, that is true. Um,
But yeah,
but yeah, I think that's gonna be a fun series, but I just don't know if the Kings have enough. Mind you, again, like the only center to really shut down Connor McDavid in a playoff series. Actually, no, that's a lie. Never mind. Take scratch what I just said. Um,
there's only
but
been two
like,
big ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
yeah, yeah. No, I immediately went to like the Winnipeg series where he really got shut down by Josh Morrissey. Um,
Yeah, by Josh Morrissey.
illegally,
Like
yeah,
that's
Josh
crazy.
Morrissey. Uh,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, I think if Philip Deneau can kind of, I feel like Deneau is going to get a lot of that responsibility, and then they'll put Kopitar on like the Draisaitl line. Um,
Yeah.
I, I really trust Philip Deneau in that situation, but I don't know if I trust him enough to like not have McDavid have like 16 points in 7 games.
Right. But I think what it'll come down to, essentially, you're hoping if you're an LA Kings player, fan, whatever, you're hoping
Mhm.
that you can kind of make it almost a wash, which you're not going to, but you're hoping your third line outscores their third line. And I think that can happen for the Kings.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I
because I
think
mean,
Gabe
like the Oilers'
Vilardi,
depth still isn't very good.
no, it's not great. I mean, Bukestad was a good ad. We actually didn't talk about that for the Oilers, but yeah, I
Drew
don't know.
Doughty's
I
not been good
am
again, huh?
who's not good?
Drew Doughty. It's unfortunate.
Uh, I don't know. Yeah,
He's been like
unfortunate.
not great. He's back to his like okay second pairing level that he was at like 2 years ago.
That's
A
sad.
lot of that could be injury stuff too. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
he's not the Norris
that's
like contender that he was last year, which sucks.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun series. I'm
I
excited
agree.
for it. What did Colorado do this deadline?
Lars Eller for a second. I think
Yeah,
that's it.
whatever. It's fine. Yeah.
I
Dallas
haven't even
got
checked down how
Max
Lars
Domi.
Ellers is doing.
Yeah, he's Lars Eller. If Dallas got Max Domi, they should have done more. Max
Yeah,
Domi's fine. End of story.
but I'm glad they
Uh,
didn't like mortgage everything for this year. Like I think they have a
sure.
better chance next year because they'll have Stankoven coming in. Johnston will
I
be at
guess
an
I got
elevated
Dadonov too.
role, and they got Dadonov. I
Yeah,
mean, I kind of like
it's fine.
Gurianov though. Like that was
They're just kind of. He's not good.
he had his analytics moment where he was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not
And-
sold on. Yeah, whatever. They traded each team traded a guy that was worth nothing to them to the other team.
Yeah,
That's kind of what happened there. What did Minnesota? Didn't Minnesota trade for somebody?
they did a lot. Well, not a lot, but they traded
They
for
traded Greenway.
Sundqvist. Yeah, they traded Greenway. They traded for Johansson, who's actually been almost a point a game since he's joined.
That's crazy. Because I didn't like. I still don't like that move very much. But
Yeah, I'm okay
so
with it. He's played well with Boldy, so that's
it's
really all you needed.
yeah.
Plus, Nyquist
Or even
hasn't
like
played a
not
game
Boldy
yet.
rocks,
I'm
but
interested to see how he does.
yeah, that was
And
an
they traded
interesting
for
pickup.
John Klingberg, which they
Yeah,
did not need to do because they're sitting their best power play defenseman every game.
yeah.
Like Kalen Addison should not be sitting over
Keelan Addison, yeah,
John
no
Merrill.
worries.
Like John Merrill's not good defenseman
No.
in the NHL.
I mean, I'd play Addison over Klimberg too, but
Right. Like I wouldn't have made that trade just because
no.
like
I just want to know when
Kalen
Matt Dumba's
Addison's
gonna get
getting
traded. Like, what's that
yeah.
happening? Because like
I thought
he's
they
been
were
on the
gonna
trade
trade
block for
him.
4 years.
Yeah. It's gonna happen at the off season. That's what they say every year, but I think it's actually
It's
gonna
not.
happen this year.
It's not gonna happen. He's gonna be there until they're gonna re-sign him. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be really funny.
They're gonna trade the whole team till they only have Matt Dumba left. That's what it's gonna be.
Matt Dumba and Zach Parise's buyout money. It's gonna be the
That's
2025 Minnesota
Minnesota
Wild.
Wild.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. I don't care. Tampa Bay traded an entire draft class for a guy who has like 4 goals this year.
Right.
And everybody's defending it because Julian Breezewell is a genius, and you can't question what Julian Breezewell does until he signs Ben Sherratt to a 4x4 in the offseason. And then everybody thinks he sucks. So, yeah.
It's
The
yeah,
trade
it's almost a
stinks.
cycle.
Tanner Jeannot is going to score 3 goals in Game 7 against the Leafs.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on that. Trade's awful, but he's going to get a hat trick in Game 7
in their
against
4-3
Toronto.
win over the Toronto
Yep.
Maple Leafs in Game 7.
Yep. That's how it's going to work. And Luke Schen's going to have 2 goals in that game as well.
Yeah.
For Toronto. Because that's how hockey works, baby. Yeah, this trade stinks. I don't know if you want to say anything else, but it wasn't good. It was the worst trade at the deadline.
There's like a cycle that NHL GMs do. Like they make a couple good moves, like value good moves,
Yep.
and then everybody's like, "Oh, this must be an analytics GM, like Julian Brisbois," and then he goes and does this. Like that happens every time. Like he's like you just said it. He's gonna sign some horrible contract this offseason.
Oh yeah. Well, they don't have any money, so I don't think that's actually gonna happen. But
like that's the only thing that saves him from doing horrible moves. I think at this point
they're like negative cap space every year. Yeah, I mean, like the fact that people are comparing this to like the Blake Coleman deal or even the Hagel trade is insane to me. Like that's crazy. Like Tanner Jeannot, just because like it's a random third liner that you've never heard of, doesn't mean they're the same player.
No.
Okay, like that's not how it works. Like Blake Coleman was, first of all, he was an analytics darling for years in
San Jose.
New Jersey. New Jersey.
Okay.
Oh, not Coleman. Yeah, Coleman. He was in New Jersey.
Coleman was in. I mixed
Goudreau
up
was in.
Goudreau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Goudreau was in San Jose. Coleman was an elite analytics darling for years. He was one of the best penalty killers in the league, and he had an offensive upside that could allow him to push into the top 6. So did Brandon Hagel outside of the penalty kill numbers. Very similar player.
Yeah.
Goudreau is easily the best comparison for Tanner Jeannot. And Goudreau had an extra year in his contract and costed them significantly less in capital and was a better player.
Exactly.
It makes no like Jeannot's at RFA. And if he does have this crazy playoff run that everybody's predicting because Julian Breezewell is a genius, he's not signing for $900K.
No.
It's just not happening. So
like it's not.
The move made no sense in every aspect of the deal. The only thing that they might be able to do, and it's not going to happen now because he's played 18 games and he stinks, is have him break out and then flip his RFA rights. That's the only thing that could salvage this deal. But the fact that he hasn't had any success yet makes that less and less likely. And teams, I think, are starting to understand that buying into like a 3-game span of good play in the playoffs doesn't equate to anything, and you shouldn't do that. Most GMs, anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. The thing is, like, if Tampa Bay would have done kind of what they did last year, like they got, who was it, Nick Paul?
Yeah, it still wasn't great.
Like something like that. Like that, like Nick Paul's
it's fine. It's fine.
But it's not
the
like
contract stinks, but it's fine.
Right. It's just too much term.
Yeah, it's like 7 years. Insane. But yeah, I mean, I actually didn't mind that deal when it happened, but like that's not even comparable because they gave up like some random. I can't remember who they traded in that deal.
Matthew Joseph,
yeah, and like a 2nd-round pick or something. Like it didn't matter. They traded an entire year's worth of picks for Tanner Jeannot.
Right.
Like the Jets got Niederreiter for a second. It makes no like it doesn't make any sense. I understand that like the Tampa Bay Lightning could literally trade for one player this summer or this deadline because they have no money. But like, then just don't trade for anybody.
Making moves
Like,
for
just
the
don't do it.
purpose of doing something is actually
Yeah.
worse than just leaving it. Like, don't touch
Like
what
Tanner Jeannot
works.
isn't changing the way, like your odds of winning a Stanley Cup. He's not.
Right. He doesn't even
Even
shift a
Barclay
playoff
Goodrow didn't
series
change
at
their
all.
like yeah. Like Goudreau didn't even change their odds that much. He was just a good complementary piece for the guy who actually did in Blake
Right.
Coleman.
Yeah.
Like it yeah, it's not yeah. I'm
Like, they
just
already
sick of the
have.
appeal to authority like comments about Breezeball, who didn't even build the team, by the way.
Right.
Like he didn't build 80% of the team. Whatever.
Yeah.
Seattle. What did Seattle do? They traded for somebody.
They did nothing. I don't think they
I thought
actually
they
did anything.
I thought they traded for somebody. I could be wrong. Like it wasn't anybody
No.
significant.
I don't think they made a single move.
Shout out to uh who is
Da-
it?
Daniel
Sprong for
Sprong.
unreal. Yeah. Shout out to Daniel Sprong for being an absolute stud on the fourth line. He's been fantastic. Leads the league
Considering
in
he was a
points.
PTO at the start of the year.
Yeah, leads the league in points per 60. Analytically, really good, especially for fourth liner.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he's rocked. Watch for Daniel Sprong to score a couple big goals in the playoffs. Like that's my prediction.
He
Whoever they
will.
play, whether or not they win their series, I think he's going to get a couple big moments in the playoffs. Like very much like an Eric Stahl kind of in the 2021 with Montreal. That's like the kind of feeling I get from Daniel Sprong this playoffs.
Yeah. I get a Tatar feeling from him. I don't know why.
I don't know
That's
if
the
he'll
kind of
be
thing
like
I get. Like, he just seems like a good finisher. And like he'll do
it's like it's
something.
Tatar. Okay, yeah, it's like a Walmart version of Thomas Tatar. I can see
Yeah,
that.
that's what I meant. They made
Okay,
one trade, the Kraken. They traded a fourth for Jacob Magna. It's like,
that's right. Yeah, okay.
doesn't move the needle at all.
See who to play.
Might actually take away the needle a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Winnipeg got Niederreiter. I think that was probably the best value add at the deadline.
Yeah,
And
and Vlad
Nemestikov, which was
Nemestikov.
also one of the best value adds of the deadline.
Especially
But this is a
considering
team
he's
that needed.
playing 2C right now.
He's been really good. Nemestikov arguably has been better
Yeah,
than Niederreiter since the deadline, actually. But yeah, like Niederreiter, the
that's
extra year
true.
on his deal for a second round pick is like insane. Um,
Yeah.
but like this is the team that needed to do something big, or like this might be the final year with this core,
I think it will be, no
and
matter
like
what
it will be
happens.
now because they've completely fallen off the map. But like this team was in free fall even at the deadline, and they just kind of stood pat. Like I don't like a middle six and a bottom six forward isn't enough for what this team needed. They needed another defenseman. They probably needed another forward in the top six who's actually a top six forward.
Right.
Like they had the money, they had the flexibility, they had the assets, and they just didn't do anything. And you're seeing the results of that. Like this team's in free fall right now, and they just lost to Calgary, and like they have like 4 games to figure this thing out, and Calgary has an easier
But
schedule. It
see, like, they had a chance to put it all away tonight. Like, if they would have won tonight, they had a 95% chance.
yeah,
Like, they could have put it all away for good. And now they're sitting
everybody
at
stunk.
60%. They had 2 good
Yeah,
games. Like, I'm
yeah.
convinced it's the Heritage Blues. That's what it is. They wore the Heritage Blues for 2 games, pump 6 both games, and then take it away. They can't score a goal at even strength.
Yeah. No, I like they needed somebody. And I don't think it was like a lot of people were calling for Timo Meyer. I think
Fire.
that was too extreme. I don't think they had the assets for that.
No.
Like New Jersey was going to outbid you, like especially with what New Jersey ended up giving up. New Jersey was always going to outbid you for that. Um, like like just considering the fact the Devils didn't move a top six prospect in their system in that deal is like they could have easily outbid everybody. But like they
Right.
needed to have something. I really liked Nick Schmaltz in Winnipeg.
I
I
would
think
have liked that too.
that fixes your center spot. It allows you to move out Pierre-Luc Dubois without having any repercussions in the offseason. And it gives you a genuine second line center for that team. I think Nick Schmaltz was the perfect fit. He wouldn't have been very expensive. He has term, which is something the Jets especially need to care about because nobody wants to come to Winnipeg. It would have been that in the Niederreiter trade. If that would have been their deadline instead, I would have loved it way more, and this team would have been way better for it.
Right.
So yeah, and it would have allowed them to have a lot more flexibility if Pierre-Luc Dubois, who they're probably going to move out anyway, but it would have kind
Right.
of set them up for next season better.
Right. It's almost a little bit of extra leverage too, because it's like, well, we don't like we can we're fine now. Like
Yeah,
we will
exactly.
trade him, but
Yeah,
we don't
we also
need
don't have to. Yeah,
yeah, like
they kind
you
of still
could
had to, but yeah,
offer him 4.7, we can match. Sure, we can't
yeah,
trade him for a year, but we're just gonna go all in this year then. And this will be the last year of the
yeah,
core, which is probably what will happen. Like I think that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna go all in for a year, then they're gonna blow it up in the summer. That's what should happen.
yeah.
Go all in for
I
two
think.
years while
Well,
you
I
have
think at this
Hellebuck.
point though, like they kind of need to trade Pierre Dubois.
Yeah, they do. Like
I,
he
I
has
don't
no
think you
effort
can.
at all.
Yeah, but you can't have this deadline and then tell me you're going to go all in next year on a guy who's going to leave you in
Right.
free agency. Like it just
They're
doesn't make any
yeah.
like if that's the vision, it makes no sense. And
See, that's the thing. I
I'm
don't think there
very.
is a vision at this point.
I mean, yeah,
Like all that the Jets have done since they got to Winnipeg, they make some good draft picks. Like they have had some good drafts, and it's
they've
just
won like
led
the
to
one like Shelby's won pretty much every trade that he's made. Within like I can't think of a
yeah,
trade where he got absolutely demolished. I'll put it that way. Like he made not
right. There's been
one every
no
trade, but
major consequential trade. Yeah,
no, yeah, like I guess the one where like you can kind of see like a change happening is the Truba deal, but like even then, like I still wouldn't have signed that contract for Truba, and you got a first round pick, so it's like
right.
that's
And
fine.
that first round pick is a guy who should
Yeah,
be in the lineup over Neil Pionk.
well, yeah. But even like maybe like the Steve Mason trade for Joel Armia, but like that's so inconsequential that
Yeah, that
like you
was pretty
basically just
bad.
get Armia for free, but like who like it's fine. Like he really, but
He's
like
pretty
he
much
just
just a
also
guy. Yeah,
yeah, but like Shoveldayoff also really hasn't had a big swing, and
that's true.
I don't know if that's just because of where he was before was very much a destination where people could attract free agents, so they didn't have to make a big swing. But like nobody's signing in Winnipeg. It's been 10 years, and their biggest free agent target was what, like Olli Jokinen as like a 42-year
Yeah,
old. Like
I think so.
this team doesn't bring in free agents, and you have to understand that. You have to understand this team's going to be built through the draft and through trades. That's it. And they just haven't been able to do one of those two things. And even the drafting, like the drafting's been fine. The development hasn't been great.
No, that's true. Their development has been horrible, actually.
They've had really good drafts. They've had guys who look really good. And then like you have Josh Morrissey who's finally breaking out. You lucked out with Connor Hellebuck. I'm not counting that on development. That's just him being a goalie. Like Mark Scheifele's hit a ceiling as like a okay first line center.
Yeah,
Like that's it. That's the development process. I mean, they're not playing Ehlers. Kyle Connor, I
right.
guess I'll give you that. But
Kyle Connor is pretty good.
yeah, like yeah, they've had really good drafts, but there's just nothing of substance outside of that. And I think this team
Yeah,
needs to blow it up. I'm very much on the shovel layoff has to go.
I
You've
think
had 10 years. You've had 10 years. And you have one third round appearance. That's just not good enough.
right. Yeah, I
It's
agree.
it's just not. Uh, Calgary. What did Calgary do? I don't think they did anything, did they?
They swapped Richies and they traded for Stetcher.
That's right. I don't care. Troy Stetcher rocks though. So like, shut up.
Troy Stetcher's a beast. Yeah,
Yeah, Florida should trade Paul Maurice, but that's not gonna happen.
and Charlie Huddy,
Uh,
package him in there too.
yeah, it's like it's crazy. Florida's decline happened immediately. When, like as much as I'll rip on Rick Bonus, like it's such an upgrade over Paul Maurice. It
Yeah,
really is. But yeah, Florida kind of did their big thing in at the offseason. Like they didn't have anything to trade.
right.
Um, so that's fine, I guess. Uh, they signed Eric Stahl. I guess they signed Eric Stahl to PTO at the beginning of the year. I just
Yeah,
can't.
and Mark
I keep
Stahl.
forgetting both Stahl brothers are on this team. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, they're not good.
They are on
The
a
Islanders got
four-game win
Horvat.
streak though right now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, shut up. The Islanders got Bo Horvat. It made no sense. Um,
Yeah,
Pure Engvall rocks though. So
he is a beast.
yeah, yeah. The Horvat move made no sense, and it makes even less sense that they re-signed him. Like Lou Lamoriello's lost his mind. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too many thoughts. Like, he's been not good, and I mean, obviously the injury to Barzell is affecting that too. But
That's true. Yeah.
it's like, but at the same time, like you traded for Horvat because he was a first line center who you thought could like elevate you in the playoffs, and he hasn't been able to do that in that role.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like, as much as like the Barzell injury is affecting them winning wise, and they really haven't dropped down in the standings at all. They've been basically in the same. Their playoff odds have actually went up since the injury, uh, just because of the nature of everybody else around them losing. But like, it really like exemplifies the fact that like he's not like this wasn't a good move, and this team's not very good.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
this team's going to live or die by Sorokin.
Yeah, they will.
Period.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I still don't love the move, but they'll probably make the playoffs. So there you go. And they'll do it without Barzell, which means Lou Lamoriello will be around for another 7 years because he can sit on that. Like, hey, our best player was out and we made the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Okay, we'll talk about these next two, and then that kind of covers everything else, and then we can get out of here because this is going on forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nashville sold off a bunch of pieces as they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Moved Barry Trotz upstairs, which is good. David Poyle gave him every pick possible going into this rebuild. I'm big fan.
Yeah.
And now the Predators are just suddenly really good again, and they
Right.
might make the playoffs. They have an outside chance to make the playoffs. Their odds aren't very good, but if they beat the Jets on Saturday, then they basically have to win out, essentially. At this
Yeah.
point, I think they can have afford like one loss at this point.
I think
Um,
so.
but this doesn't matter because they did what they should have done last year, and they still have a very good goalie who like we can get into Predators offseason stuff. I think trading Saros makes a lot of sense at this point. Going into this summer, especially if they miss the playoffs. But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the Predators deadline, I really liked it. And yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think, yeah, you said it pretty much better than I could. Yeah. They did everything they needed to do. They didn't hold on to guys just because. Traded them off. I think that's a good move. Yeah.
Have you looked at the Predators center depth right now?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, it's Cody Glass, Thomas Novak, Colton Sissons, and Mark Jankowski currently. That's
Yeah, that's crazy.
not good because everybody's hurt. I mean, Johansson, Duchesne, and Forsberg are all hurt. Yossi's hurt. Wow, how is this team winning games right now?
UC
Oh, yeah,
Saros.
UC, I should win the Vezina Saros. That's right.
Yeah.
Uh, Finally, the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'll
Horrible.
let you rant about the Penguins.
All right. Horrible move. The only saving grace is that they weren't able to flip Zucker before they traded JT Miller. Like they were really gonna flip
both GMs should get
Zucker.
fired for that. I want to point out there should be a fireable
Yeah.
offense for both Vancouver and Pittsburgh's GMs.
JT Miller for 2 firsts, and then you're gonna flip Jason Zucker when you're giving up 2 firsts for the worst player, and you're hoping that somebody gives you something for Zucker. And Zucker's like actually a good player still.
Zucker's good. Yeah, I like Jason Zucker.
And you trade for Granlund, who does not move the needle at all. And
Hey,
I
shout
think
out to his $5 million contract for another year after this.
yeah, that's a joke.
Shout
Yeah,
out.
they did horrible. Yeah, that's my rant
It's
about the
also really funny
Penguins.
that it's like he sucks too, but it's really funny that Kapanen has 7 goals and 4 assists since he was placed on waivers.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I think
Same like
that's
the
oh,
Verona
he's playing
thing.
on like yeah, he's playing on like the first line in like St. Louis, and they don't care. But like it's really funny. Um, yeah, the I applauded Pittsburgh for going all in with the score for one more time in the offseason. Um,
Yeah.
but you just look at all the moves they made, and they were all the wrong moves. Like we just talked about, uh, Shovel Day off not losing a trade. Like everything Hextall's done has been awful over the last year and a half. Like the second they signed Malkin and Letang, every other thing he's done since then has not helped this team improve at all,
Right.
except for maybe the Raquel trade.
Yeah, that
I'll
one
give
was
him
pretty
that.
good. I'll give him that
The
one.
Raquel trade was fine. I had issues with it at the time. Raquel's been fine,
Mm-hmm.
but like Granlund has been awful. He hasn't done anything positive for this team so far, and he has another
Jeff
year left at
Carter's been
5 million.
horrible this year too.
When the year they traded for Carter, he was fine. They should have never re-signed
Yeah.
him.
No, because
He
once
was
your
fine for
legs
that like
goes,
2 game
everything
stretch.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But like you have money locked up, and they have like what, like 8.5 mil locked up in Carter and Granlund for next season. Like that's
I think so.
like that's crazy. Like that's actually crazy. Like Jeff Petrie has been awful
Mm-hmm.
this season. Mike Matheson's been Montreal's best defenseman by a mile, which isn't saying much, but he's been really good. Like he's genuinely been really good in an elevated role.
Yeah,
So you could have just elevated Matheson again. Like it was unnecessary to do. Like
right.
this team had so much potential because they had the assets to make moves that could have helped out. Like they could have traded for Nito Niederreiter, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
instead of
Instead of,
Granlund, who I would have liked
yeah,
way more on this. And it's like this for the same amount. Like the same amount. I think they paid more for Granlund actually.
it's $1
Like
million
it just
less for Nino. Yeah,
yeah. No, but like in assets too. I don't think it was just a second for Granlund.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what you mean. Okay.
And
Yeah,
he's a million more. Like it both ways. Like it just they had all this cap space and they had all these assets, like not a ton of assets, but they had enough that they could have gone all. They could have tried to push in for one more run with this team,
yeah.
and they did such an awful job. Like they may not even make the playoffs this year,
I don't think they will.
and even if they do, you're gonna get buzzsawed by the Bruins in 4 games. Like
Right.
of the 3 teams the Bruins can play in the playoffs, they easily want to play Pittsburgh. Like it's not even close. It's like Pittsburgh, like 10 feet of nothing, and then Florida, and then the Islanders.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's not good. This like it's really unfortunate too because like they had an opportunity to try to win one more with Sid and Gino, and they're not going to. Like even if they try to rip it apart in the offseason, they gave up all they moved out all their assets, and they're gonna have to take salary back. Like, it's just not. It's done. It's over.
Yeah.
And I think the uncomfortable conversation you have to have now is the one Chicago should have had 3 years ago with Taves and Kane.
Yeah.
And I really genuinely think the Penguins need to sit down with Crosby and Malkin and Letang and have a real conversation about where this team's at
Yeah, exactly.
now, like this summer. Because if you wait until Crosby's a pending UFA, you're going to get the second round pick and a nothing asset for him
Right.
for maybe second greatest player in franchise history. And like that conversation has to happen this summer, and it won't because that's the way hockey works. But it should,
Yeah.
because Ron Hextall like ruined any chance this team had to compete. And even if they did do it perfectly, like this team's still not winning a Stanley Cup. But like at least you might be able to make like a third round run or something one more time. Like maybe like the Metro's kind of wide open. You could move the right assets and tried to make a run out of this thing, but that's not happening now.
Right. Yeah. It's over now.
It's really sad. But yeah, I think that is basically everything. We had a couple other things we want to talk about, but I feel like we've been going for a while. So
Yeah. It was
uh,
actually a lot of good content we got in here. Pretty good.
yeah, and it gives us an opportunity to do another one at some point soon.
Yes.
Yeah,
Soon.
so be on the lookout. We're gonna do an actual playoff preview. Once the bracket's officially set, we kind of went over it in this one, but we'll dive into each matchup and stuff and talk about that. Give our predictions. We'll do awards and stuff. I also have a couple people lined up for a draft episode. So we're gonna do a draft episode soon, and we also plan on doing some like reviews of team seasons more in depth than just talking about their deadline pickups. So,
Right. Yeah.
and we'll do all 32 teams, obviously. So yeah, I think that's about it. Where can they find you?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at BroalieTalksHockey. It's pretty much the only place I'm semi-active. Mostly just find me on here. But yeah, Broly Talks Hockey if you want to see the occasional story or reaction.
Yeah, couple posts once every couple years.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, I'm in the same boat. I post like once a month right now, so like it's cool. Yeah, you guys can find me at NBI Hockey on or NBI underscore hockey on Twitter. I think it's NBI underscore hockey on Instagram too. I can't remember. But whatever. The link to the other one is in my bio for one of them, so you find me somewhere. Um, Also follow Odd Man Rush Pod on Instagram. Full videos available on YouTube. So subscribe there, and you can look at us for an hour. And we also do have a Twitter. I actually genuinely don't know if I have access to that anymore, but we'll find out. There is a Twitter somewhere.
Got to keep
Uh,
writing down the passwords, apparently.
yeah, I know, fairly. That one I only had control of, so that's on me. Um, but yeah, again, we're gonna be back to making semi-regular episodes hopefully soon. So expect one in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's a good
So
way to end it.
thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys for all the support. And hopefully you guys are still out there. We still see followers coming to the Instagram, so people have asked for a new episode. So here you go. Thanks again, guys.